The deep space near the edge of the Milky Way was silent. No stars flickered here, no ships moved. Only darkness, endless and cold. Then out of that darkness a single ship appeared. Its black metal surface reflected no light. It belonged to the Xylar Empire, one of the most powerful alien races in the galaxy. Their ships were like knives cutting through space, perfect, emotionless, and deadly. Inside the ship, Commander Vratel stood before the main viewing screen. His 4 silver eyes blinked slowly as he studied the strange readings. "Commander," said the navigator, her voice calm but uncertain, "we are detecting debris, massive amounts. It's a battlefield." Vratel's long fingers tapped the console. "Any life signs?" "One signal," the navigator answered. "Weak, but human." That wording, human, made the entire bridge go silent. The Xylar Empire had fought humans before. They were strange creatures, small and emotional. The Xylar saw them as chaotic, unpredictable, even dangerous. But humans had disappeared from the front lines years ago. No one knew where they had gone, until now. "Bring us closer," Vratel ordered. The great ship moved slowly through the remains of a war. Broken ships floated everywhere, pieces of metal and glass drifting like ghosts. Fire still burned in the emptiness, small orange lights against the black. "Report," Vratel said. "Multiple fleets destroyed," replied the science officer. "Alien signatures from at least 7 species, and 1 human battle group. So many dead," Vratel whispered. "And yet 1 human signal remains?" "Yes, Commander. It comes from a small Earth ship. Designation Horizon Dawn." Vratel narrowed his eyes. "Prepare a boarding team." Minutes later, a smaller Xylar craft detached from the main ship and drifted toward the wreck of the Horizon Dawn. The human ship looked like a broken bird, wings torn. Engines dead, hull cracked open. The Xylar boarding team entered carefully. Their lights cut through the darkness inside. Smoke floated in the air mixed with the smell of burned metal. Then they heard it. A faint sound. A voice repeating through the ship's speakers. "We are still here. We are still here." The words echoed again and again, calm but haunting. "Commander," said the lead soldier through the radio, "we found the source of the signal. 1 survivor. Human male." Vratel's eyes widened. "Alive? Barely. He's injured but conscious. Bring him aboard," Vratel ordered. In the medical chamber of the Xylar ship, the human lay on a silver bed. His face was covered in scars. His uniform burned, but his eyes were open, bright and defiant. Vratel stepped forward. "Human, I am Commander Vratel of the Xylar Empire. You are the only survivor of this war zone. Tell me, what happened here?" The human looked at him and smiled weakly. "You wouldn't understand. Try me," Vratel said. The human's voice was low, almost a whisper. "You think we fight because we love war. But you're wrong," Vratel frowned. "Then why? Why destroy so much for nothing?" The human closed his eyes. "Because we never stop fighting. Even when we lose everything." And then, with a faint laugh, he added, "You'll never understand why we fight." Seconds later, his heartbeat stopped. The monitor went silent. Vratel stood still, watching the human's face. The expression was peaceful, almost proud. Later, Vratel sat alone in his quarters, reviewing the data from the Horizon Dawn. The human ship had been hopelessly outnumbered. There was no chance of victory. Yet the humans had fought until their last breath, destroying ships far stronger than theirs. It made no sense. The Xylar always fought with logic. If victory was impossible, retreat was the smart choice. But humans, they fought even when logic said to stop. The commander replayed the human's final words in his mind. "You'll never understand why we fight. What did it mean?" He ordered his AI assistant to analyze the ship's records. Hours passed. Finally, the AI spoke. "Commander, we found a message in the human data logs. It repeats every hour, hidden inside their distress signal." "Play it," Vratel said. The message began with static. Then a calm human voice spoke. "To whoever finds this, know that we did not die in fear. We fought because it is what we are. We fight not for power, not for control, but because we must. We fight for each other, for hope." The message ended with the same line that had haunted the commander since the beginning. "We are still here." Vratel leaned back in silence. The words echoed in his mind. How could such fragile creatures speak with such strength? He looked at the galaxy map. So many worlds conquered by the Xylar, so many victories, Yet none of them felt like this. He whispered to himself, "What makes humans so different?" The navigator's voice broke the silence. "Commander, the Council is requesting your report." Vratel closed his eyes. "Tell them." The humans are gone, but deep inside he knew that wasn't true. Somewhere out there more of them were waiting, and he felt something new, something his species had never felt before. Not fear, not hate, curiosity. For the first time in his life, Commander Vratel wanted to understand humans, not as enemies, but as a mystery. He looked out the window at the silent stars and whispered the words again, as if testing their power. "We are still here," and in that quiet moment he finally began to believe it. The Xylar flagship Obsidian Crown drifted silently through deep space. Inside its metal halls the lights glowed cold blue, and the air felt heavy, filled with tension and questions. Commander Vratel stood in the research bay, staring through a glass wall at the body of the human they had recovered. The human lay on a white table, motionless, but his expression still carried that same strange peace, a peace that made no sense after so much death. Vratel turned to the chief scientist, Dr. Kellen, a thin Xylar with silver hands and emotionless eyes. "Begin the memory scan," Vratel said quietly. Dr. Kellen nodded and touched the controls. The machine came to life, humming as small lights surrounded the human's head. Data began to stream across the monitors. Images, sounds, flashes of a life lived fast and hard. Moments of war. Moments of laughter. Moments of sacrifice. The scientists watched, confused. Humans cried when they lost. They smiled when they were hurt. And they kept moving forward even when all logic said to stop. Dr. Kellen frowned. "Commander, this is strange. Their emotions are not simple. Every feeling leads to another. Fear leads to courage. Pain becomes strength." Vratel leaned closer to the screen. "Can you explain it?" "No, Commander. It's chaos. Their minds are chaos, yet somehow that chaos gives them order." The words made no sense, yet Vratel could see it himself. Humans were not like the Xylar, who planned every move with logic and precision. Humans felt everything: pain, love, hope, anger, and somehow that made them unstoppable. Later, Vratel walked down the silent halls toward his command room. Every crew member moved quietly when he passed. The story of the human survivor had spread through the ship, and whispers followed wherever he went. Some called humans dangerous, some called them insane, but everyone was curious. In the command room, Vratel stared at the holographic map of the galaxy. Tiny dots represented the countless worlds under Xylar control. Perfect order, perfect obedience. But suddenly all of it felt empty. He thought of the human's last words. "You'll never understand why we fight." Vratel whispered to himself, "Then I must understand." The next day, Dr. Kellen entered the room holding a small black device, the one found in the human's uniform pocket. "Commander, we managed to open it," he said. "It's a personal recorder. I believe it holds his final thoughts." "Play it," Vratel ordered. The room went silent. Then a rough human voice began to speak, tired but calm. "If anyone finds this, know that we didn't run. We stood our ground. Because that's what humans do. We stand no matter the cost." The voice coughed, then continued. "You can destroy our ships, our cities, our bodies, but you'll never destroy what makes us human. We fight because we care. We fight for each other, even if no one remembers our names." The message ended with a faint chuckle, then silence. Dr. Kellen looked uneasy. "Commander, this human speaks as if their weakness is their strength." Vratel nodded slowly. "Yes, that is what makes them dangerous." He paused, then added quietly, "And maybe that is what makes them powerful." Weeks passed. The Xylar scientists continued their studies, but they found no logical reason for human behavior. They examined human recordings, books, and transmissions gathered from old archives. They learned of human wars, endless conflicts that almost destroyed their own planet. But they also found stories of humans helping enemies, rebuilding cities, saving lives at the cost of their own. One day, Dr. Kellen entered with a new report. "Commander, the more we study them, the less we understand. Their emotions do not follow any rule." Vratel turned to him. "Maybe the problem is not them. Maybe the problem is us." Dr. Kellen frowned. "Explain?" "We built our empire on control and logic," Vratel said. "But logic alone cannot explain why a human smiles while dying, or why they risk everything for hope. He looked out the window at the stars. Perhaps that is the secret we have missed. That night, Vratel could not sleep. He kept hearing the words, "We are still here." He opened the human data logs again, searching for answers. Then he noticed something hidden, a small encrypted file buried deep inside the human's ship records. He ordered the AI to decode it. After hours of silence, the file finally opened. It contained coordinates, a location deep within human territory. A system marked Sol. The AI spoke. "Commander, this planet is known in human archives as Earth, their origin world." Vratel's 4 eyes narrowed. "Earth?" he whispered. Dr. Kellen entered the room. "Commander, the Council has ordered us to stop this research. They say humans are finished. We must move on." But Vratel shook his head. "No, I have seen enough to know they are not finished. Something is waiting for us on that planet." He turned toward the window, looking at the distant stars. "Prepare a stealth ship. We are going to Earth." Dr. Kellen's eyes widened. "Commander, that is forbidden." "The Council will—" "I will take full responsibility," Vratel interrupted. "If we are to rule the galaxy, we must understand those who once challenged it." He placed his hand on the glowing console, locking in the coordinates. The stars shifted on the screen as the ship's engines roared to life. The journey had begun. As the obsidian crown moved into hyperspace, Vratel felt something inside him he had never felt before. Not fear, not pride. Something else. Curiosity mixed with respect. He didn't know what he would find on that small blue planet. But deep inside he already knew one thing. Humans were not gone, they were waiting. And soon, the Xylar Empire would finally learn why humans rule the galaxy. The Xylar stealth ship Ecliptor moved through the darkness of deep space, its engines silent, its presence invisible. Only one destination was set in its navigation core, a small, forgotten blue planet, Earth. Commander Vratel stood alone at the viewing window, watching the stars slide by. Every second brought him closer to the world that once gave birth to the most unpredictable species in the galaxy, humans. Dr. Kellen, standing behind him, broke the silence. "Commander, this journey is a violation of Council orders." "If they find out," Vratel raised a hand, "they will not. This mission is not for the Council. It is for truth." Kellen's metal eyes blinked slowly. "Truth about what?" Vratel didn't answer right away. He looked out into the endless dark. Truth about why humans fought as they did. Why they refused to surrender. Why they are still remembered. Even in silence, days turned into weeks. The journey through hyperspace felt endless. The crew grew restless. Some whispered that the humans had cursed their world, that visiting Earth would bring disaster. But Vratel ignored the rumors. His focus never broke. Finally, the Ecliptor dropped out of hyperspace near a yellow sun, and there it was, a small blue world, glowing softly against the void. Earth. Vratel stared in silence. The planet looked peaceful, quiet, untouched by war. Clouds moved gently across its surface. Oceans shimmered like liquid glass. Dr. Kellen scanned the readings. "Commander, there is no sign of life. The surface is quiet. No transmissions, no power grids, no movement. It's a dead world." Vratel's voice was calm but firm. "Prepare for landing." The ship descended through the atmosphere. For the first time, Xylar eyes saw the blue skies of Earth, the white clouds and the endless green lands below. They landed in the ruins of what once was a great human city. Broken towers reached toward the sky, covered in vines and silence. Streets were cracked and empty, but strange human symbols still marked the walls. As Vratel stepped out of the ship, he felt something strange. The air was warm, the wind soft. Yet he sensed a deep sadness in the land, as if the planet itself remembered what had happened here. "Record everything," he ordered. "I want every trace, every word, every memory." The team began exploring. They found faded posters, books turned to dust, and rusted machines. But inside one tall, half-broken building, they discovered something unexpected, a museum. At the entrance, the old letters still read, "Museum of Human History." Inside, the air was still. Broken lights flickered faintly as the Xylar moved through the halls. Glass cases held what remained of ancient human objects: helmets, flags, weapons, photographs. Dr. Kellen wiped the dust from a metal plaque. The words were still readable: "Humanity born from struggle. Forged in chaos, carried by hope, he frowned. They glorified their pain. Vratel shook his head. No, they learned from it. They moved deeper. A large holographic display flickered to life as they approached. It showed old recordings. Humans laughing, crying, building cities, exploring space. Then the video changed. Scenes of war filled the screen and fire, destruction, loss. But in the chaos, there were always people helping others, carrying the wounded, protecting children. Refusing to run, one human voice spoke through the static. We fight not because we love war, but because we love what we protect. The words hit Vratel like a pulse through his chest. He felt something stir. Not logic, not analysis, but emotion. Dr. Kellen whispered, "They fought for ideas, not just survival." Vratel nodded slowly. Yes, they fought for meaning. In another room they found a giant mural, a painting of humans reaching out toward the stars. Beneath it, written in Old English, were the words, "Even when the night is darkest, humanity will light the way." Vratel stood before the mural for a long time. His silver eyes reflected the painted stars. For the first time in his life, he felt something unfamiliar, pride. Not for his own race, but for another. He turned to Kellen. They were not the strongest, not the fastest. Yet they reached further than anyone. Dr. Kellen looked uncertain. "Commander, what are you suggesting?" Vratel's voice was quiet, that maybe humans did not vanish. Maybe they became something greater. Suddenly, the ground trembled. The ship's alarm rang through their communicators. "Commander!" the pilot shouted. "We're picking up multiple warp signatures above the planet. Xyla warships." Vratel's eyes widened. "The Council found us." Dr. Kellen looked frightened. "They're sending a fleet. Why?" "They fear what we might discover," Vratel replied. "They fear the truth about humans." He looked once more at the mural, at the faces of humans painted in hope. Then he turned to his team. "Get back to the ship. Now." As they lifted off, Vratel watched from the window as the Xyla fleet entered orbit. Blocking the sun with their massive ships, a message came through the comms, the voice of Admiral Zorin, cold and sharp. "Commander Vratel, you have violated direct orders. Stand down. You will return immediately." Vratel's reply was steady. "Admiral, you do not understand what we found here." "I don't need to understand," Zorin said. "Humans are a threat. This planet will be cleansed." Vratel's eyes hardened. "If you destroy this world, you destroy everything they stood for." The line went dead. Moments later, the Xyla ships began to charge their main weapons. Dr. Kellen turned to Vratel. "Commander, what do we do?" Vratel looked down at Earth. Beautiful, fragile, and silent, he whispered, "We do what the humans would have done." The Ecliptor changed course, engines flaring bright, straight toward the Xyla fleet. As the stars burned around them, Vratel knew the next battle would decide more than survival. It would decide what the galaxy believed in, fear or hope. And somewhere in the deep silence of Earth, the words still echoed in his mind, "We are still here." The blackness of space above Earth was no longer silent. Now it burned with light, fire, and movement, as the Xyla fleet formed a massive circle around the planet. Dozens of heavy warships aimed their weapons down toward the blue world, ready to erase it forever. Inside his smaller ship, the Ecliptor, Commander Vratel, stood at the control deck, his silver eyes locked on the enemy formation. His crew waited for orders, fear written across every alien face. Dr. Kellen spoke first, his voice shaking. "Commander, we can't fight them." "That's the full Xyla fleet. We'll be destroyed in seconds." Vratel didn't move. "I know. Then what are you doing?" He looked out the window toward the planet below, the silent Earth that had once been home to the humans. "I'm doing what the humans would do." The Xyla fleet's leader, Admiral Zorin, appeared on the screen, tall, cold, and confident. "Vratel," he said sharply, "stand down and return to the fleet. You have broken the Council's laws. You will face trial." Vratel's voice was calm. "Admiral, I've seen the truth. The humans weren't a threat to the galaxy. They were its teachers. Teachers." Zorin laughed, his metallic teeth shining. "They were savages. They destroyed their own world." Vratel's tone grew stronger. "Yes, but they also built it again. They failed, they bled, they lost everything. And still they rose. Can you say the same about us?" Zorin's face hardened. "Enough. This world dies and your name dies with it." The transmission cut off. Moments later, the Xyla flagship charged its main cannon. The Ecliptor shook as the first blast roared past, burning through the clouds. The crew shouted, alarms screamed, and the ship trembled under the shockwave. Dr. Kellen grabbed the console. They're targeting the surface. They'll destroy what's left of Earth. Vratel's eyes narrowed. Then we stop them. But how? Vratel took a deep breath. By reminding them what it means to fight for something greater than orders. He activated the comms and sent a message to every Xylar ship in range. His voice echoed through the fleet. Brothers and sisters of Xylar, this is Commander Vratel. I know you see me as a traitor, but before you fire, ask yourself one question: why are we doing this? What are we so afraid of? A memory, a story, or the truth that we have forgotten how to care? For a moment, silence. Then Admiral Zorin's voice thundered through the network. Do not listen to him. He has been infected by human weakness. Vratel replied quietly. If compassion is weakness, then maybe weakness is our only strength. The Ecliptor turned sharply and dove straight toward the Xyla fleet. Dr. Kellen shouted, Commander, they'll fire on us. Let them, Vratel said. We will make them see. The smaller ship weaved through enemy fire, lasers burning past its hull. The Ecliptor's shield screamed under the pressure, but Vratel kept going, closer, faster. Target the flagship, he ordered. We'll disable their main cannon. The gunners worked fast, launching pulse rounds that exploded against the enemy ship's side. Small damage, but enough to get attention. Within seconds, half the Xyla fleet turned to face them. Thousands of weapons locked onto one small ship. Dr. Kellen whispered, This is madness. Vratel looked at him and said softly, No, this is humanity. As the Ecliptor took hit after hit, one console sparked to life, a hidden human transmission coming from the surface of Earth. The voice was old, weak, but alive. To whoever fights above us, this is Earth Defense Relay 9. We never stopped watching the stars. We knew one day someone would come. The crew froze. A human voice. A survivor. If you can hear this, the message continued, then you must understand that we do not fight to destroy. We fight to protect what matters, Vratel smiled. They're still here. He opened the external channel again. All Xyla ships, listen. The humans never vanished. They survived. Even after we thought them gone, they stayed, waiting for hope. And now we stand above their world, ready to burn it again. Will we become the monsters they feared? Or something better? For a brief moment, no one fired. The great Xyla fleet hesitated. Then Zorin shouted, Destroy them all! The next blast hit the Ecliptor directly. The ship shook violently. Alarms screamed louder. Panels broke apart and smoke filled the bridge. Dr. Kellen fell to his knees. Shields are gone. Vratel stood firm, gripping the controls. Divert all power to engines. One last run. To where? Straight through the flagship's core. Kellen's eyes widened. That's suicide! Vratel looked calm. That sacrifice. The engines roared as the small ship burst forward like a comet. Xyla fire followed it. Lighting up the black sky, Vratel's hand stayed steady. His voice was low, almost peaceful. If this is what it means to be human, then let me be human. The Ecliptor slammed into the Xylar flagship's power core. The explosion was massive, a burst of light that covered half the sky. The shockwave spread through the fleet, disabling ships and breaking formations. Dr. Kellen opened his eyes in the chaos. The bridge was gone, fire all around. He turned. Vratel was still standing, barely alive, his armor cracked, his eyes dim. Commander, Kellen whispered. Vratel smiled faintly. They'll remember, Kellen. They'll remember this day. Kellen's voice shook. Why did you do it? Vratel looked out toward the burning sky. Because someone had to remind them that strength without heart is nothing. Then the flames took the rest. Hours later, the Xyla fleet drifted, humming silent, broken, and powerless. Many ships turned away, unwilling to continue the attack. On the planet below, the old human relay station flickered again. A soft voice whispered into the stars, To the one who fought for us. Thank you. Humanity remembers. And somewhere in that quiet orbit, among the ashes of war, the message that began it all repeated once more. We are still here. The silence after the battle was strange. Space, once alive with fire and chaos, now seemed empty, as if it were holding its breath. Commander Vratel floated inside the remains of the Ecliptor, his body broken, his silver eyes dim. Smoke curled through the torn metal of the ship, and alarms had long since stopped screaming. Dr. Kellen hovered nearby, checking vital signs. "Commander, you're still alive?" Vratel's lips moved in a faint smile. Barely, but alive enough to see the truth. Outside, the orbit around Earth was quiet. The Xylar fleet had retreated, their weapons silent, their pride broken. For the first time in history, the most powerful empire in the galaxy had been humbled, not by strength, but by something it could not understand. Vratel managed to stand, leaning against the broken wall of the ship. His eyes were fixed on the blue planet below. Earth, alive, peaceful, unbroken. They weren't just survivors, Vratel whispered to himself. They were teachers. Dr. Kellen looked confused. "Teachers? Commander? What do you mean?" Vratel turned slowly, his gaze heavy with meaning. "All my life, I believed strength came from power, from logic, from control. The Xylar Empire was built on those rules. But the humans, they show us something else. Strength comes from heart, from hope, from caring." Kellen's voice trembled. "Caring, isn't that weak?" Vratel shook his head. "No, caring is the greatest power of all. Humans fought wars they could never win. They rebuilt civilizations from ashes. They risked everything for others, not themselves. And through all of it, they never gave up." He looked down at the planet, memories of the human museum, the murals, the holograms filling his mind. He saw their laughter, their tears, their courage. "They fight not because they love war," he said softly, "but because they love what they protect." A small ship approached from the planet's surface, carrying humans who had survived the war. They moved carefully, helping Xylar crew members trapped in wreckage, tending the wounded, even aliens who had come to destroy them. Vratel's breath caught. He had never seen such acts in all his life. His species measured victory in numbers, in conquered worlds. Humans measured victory in something invisible: compassion. One of the humans, a soldier with a helmet dented from battle, approached him. Her eyes were tired, but they shone with the fire of life. "You're alive," she said simply. Vratel nodded. "Yes, because of you, and because of your world," she smiled faintly. "We fight for each other. That's all, nothing more." The commander felt something deep inside him shift. For the first time, he understood. The humans had not ruled the galaxy because they were the strongest, the smartest, or the fastest. They ruled because they never stopped, even when the odds were impossible. They ruled because their spirit refused to die. Vratel closed his eyes, remembering every word the human survivor had whispered to him long ago. "You'll never understand why we fight." Now he finally did. The Xylar fleet, still in orbit, sent a transmission to Vratel. Admiral Zorin's voice was cold and sharp, demanding surrender. Vratel responded not with anger, but with truth. "Look below you," he said. "See this world. See these people. Humans are not dangerous because of their weapons. They are dangerous because of their heart. You cannot conquer what fights for hope, for others, for life itself. Retreat and learn." For the first time, Zorin said nothing. The fleet slowly began to pull away, leaving the planet untouched. Vratel sank to his knees, exhaustion taking over. Dr. Kellen stayed by his side. "Commander, will the Xylar return?" Vratel looked up at the sky, the first soft light of dawn creeping over Earth's horizon. "Perhaps, but it doesn't matter. They may try, but humans will always rise again. Always." The human soldier crouched beside him, offering water. "You'll survive, Commander," she said gently. "You fought with us. You understand now." Vratel nodded, swallowing hard. "Yes, I understand." As the sun rose, its light glinted off the ruins of cities, the forests, the oceans. Earth was scarred but alive. Vratel stood slowly, his eyes filled with awe. He reached out toward the horizon, speaking quietly, as if sharing a secret with the planet itself. "Humans do not fight to rule. They fight to protect. They fight for what matters. And that is why they will always be here." The humans below moved among the ruins, helping each other, rebuilding what had been destroyed. Even the Xylar crew, once enemies, watched silently, learning without words, and somewhere in the quiet in the hearts of every survivor, the words echoed once more. "We are still here." Vratel turned to Dr. Kellen, his voice steady. "Take note of this, Kellen. Record everything. The galaxy must know. Humans rule not because they conquer, but because they care. Dr. Kellen bowed his head. Yes, Commander. And as the first rays of sunlight touched the Earth's surface, Commander Vraitel knew that the story of humans, their courage, their hope, their unbreakable spirit, would live forever. The Xyla Empire had learned the truth. Humans did not rule the galaxy because they were perfect. They ruled because they never gave up on what made them human. And that day the galaxy remembered. End of story.